button. Push the goddamn button.
Anything for men. Today, a man can do everything for himself.
Who needed marriage more, men or women?
At what time period? Every time period calls for something different, right? So if we're talking about the distant history, then women needed marriage just like men, supposedly, right? But we might have needed it more because women didn't have any rights. We weren't able to live a regular life without being attached to some type of man. If you're thinking about specific times in history, you needed men. You couldn't even own property at one point unless you had a husband, right? And once your husband died, the next man in the family now had ownership over you. So according to history, women needed men more. Nowadays, that has changed a little bit, right? Women are in positions where we can own things on our own. We are able to have, property. We're able to make money. We're able to do all of these things on our own. So I don't think it's really shifted where men necessarily need marriage. I think it's up to both parties now, which once again can be maybe a part of the problem. I don't know. But in history overall, I would say women needed marriage more in the past.
So, yeah, I think it switched back and forth because women needed men, bank accounts, land, whatever, all of that in this country. But in the inception of the country, I guess it just depended because women inherited their husband's land when they passed away. And then ended up needing men because they changed the laws because they didn't want the women to have that land. So like it flipped back and forth so much. And so nowadays, I'm gonna say that it benefits men more than it does women now. So like it just depends on when. But yeah, both kind of it flip-flopped. But I think that it was more beneficial to men overall than it was ever to women.
Yeah, my answer to that. Go ahead, Amra.
Thank you, Brady. I work in the divorce industry. I work in family court. Men today have no need for women. In fact, women bring more problems, debt, stress, pain, and suffering to men than anything else, than any value. Maybe value that he was getting from a woman, but he was getting her purity, her loyalty, her family, and things were different. But now men get married to women who aren't pure, who don't have any skills anymore. Majority of women don't even know how to make basic things at home. They don't know how to press clothes. They don't know how to do anything. So they're not really doing anything for men. Today, a man can do everything for himself, especially like washing clothes, whatever. But before, he needed a wife to wash. Now, he can do all that stuff by himself because he has machines. We have machines that does everything. Women are almost useless in marriage today. And I say that only because of the type of women that I'm talking about. I see it every day in divorce. Men, when they get divorced, the women take all of their resources, all of their money in divorce. So I would say women need men more today than before, because now you see women, they get married, they pop out a kid or two, maybe even sometimes none. And when they get divorced, they take the man for all he has until the day she gets married again, through child support, spousal support, any way that she can milk a man. So I'm seeing it a little bit differently, but yeah.
Okay, if I can just respond. So there's no statistic, I understand like our personal experiences, but there's no statistic that would support the fact that marriage benefits women more today. I would say that I would agree with Bo that it shifted, right? The initial reason for marriage benefited men, and it benefited families, that the lineage ran through the patriarch, right? The man's last name, the man's lineage. That was the original design. It benefited him. It did not benefit her. No matter what we say, you sold your daughter so that you could secure. That was what the exchange was. As we progress and we're talking about flipping back and forth, and now we have the idea of the spinster and the old maid, the woman who couldn't get married and have kids. Yeah, it would benefit a woman in those times, because now she would be shamed if she did not have an attachment to a man. And in certain cultures, she would be stoned, unalived, all the things if she was not attached to a man. It would benefit her from a safety perspective, right? Because she was required to have that man. In today's day and age, men report higher wages, longer life expectancy by being married, right? When you think about presidents, none of them have ever been able to even try to attain the position without having a wife. Partners at quite a lot of law firms, right? When you think about positions that are high ranking, having a wife, having a sign of discipline, loyalty, security, consistency has always proven to be beneficial to a man. So when you're saying what benefits who more, on the flip side, conversely, When a woman tries to attain when she's married, people are factoring in, oh man, you may have a baby in the next 2 years, so we can't hire you for certain positions. If you even look into Dubai's culture, some women lie about being married because of the fact that if they're married and they're a certain age, it will be assumed that they will have a child in the next 5 years, they will not receive a job. So when you think about what we're actually benefit, I mean, I guess, yeah, I got a man, my man, my man, my man, that's my benefit. But then when you're actually thinking about it structurally, generationally, not really. Like, let's take our personal feelings out of it and let's really think about it.
I'm grateful for many things, and talk-based therapy is one of them. Because Adam and I have been through a lot.
Okay. I can think of a stat that would support the idea that men have been less beneficial than women, and that would be family court. When you look at the idea that the one tangible thing that we know, right? And the family court doesn't think that anything else is important because they don't enforce anything else. All they enforce is the finances, and 97% of men have to pay alimony versus the 3% of women. So, and they disregard everything else. If I get divorced right now, I can't tell homegirl, hey, you still need to make me sandwiches. You still need to wash my clothes. You still need to, I can't do any of that. All of that shit is off the table, right? So nobody else thinks that's important or that beneficial to where you are still responsible for it. All of your duties are now relinquished, but whoever has to pay has to continue to pay. And I can tell you this, if it weren't for 97% of men paying it, then the family court system would be very different.
Well, but wait, that's to assume the people who are actually like that actually have the money to pay it. Like that percentage comes from people who can pay it. Average men can't pay like these large numbers, and they can't pay alimony at all whatsoever.
Less than 10%.
Yeah, because average people, I'm an average person. I had to put my retirement, my everything, my accounts, my business was up for discussion. If my ex-husband didn't say I don't want anything, because we both of us had businesses. I didn't want his, he didn't want mine. But if he said he wanted something from my business, he could have had that because I built that business inside of my marriage. So average people do not pay, like both parties, the woman and the man, have to put everything on the table. So the percentage of men that you are talking about, that's the percentage of men with money. Everybody don't got money like y'all got money. These men, them men over in the chat, they don't have no money to pay in family court. They ain't got no money. Average men don't have no money.
Welcome aboard the flight. This is pilot Pusha talking. We going back to Memphis and coming straight from New Orleans. The estimated time of arrival is about an hour, and I can turn your ghost if you try and play with my power. So when you look up and see the sun flash and stay in your seat, if the flight attendant say you making trouble, then we got beef. The turbulence might get rocky. You better not spill your food. This is brand new plane.